All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, vein of glass. All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, vein of Cawdor. All hail Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter. All hail Macbeth, hail king that shalt be. As many times as I have experienced Macbeth, each time I have a love-hate relationship with that play, because Macbeth really isn't a character that I admire, and I think that it's intended to be that way. I think if you relate to Macbeth, then you're probably a weenie, and you should assess that within yourself. I personally think that Macbeth is good simply because of Lady Macbeth. I might be biased because I went through a little bit of an acting phase, and she was like one of the few characters that would stand out as a strong female role, at least in a dramatic sense. There's a lot of female roles in his comedies, but not really his tragedies. Shakespeare used it as a political tool because King James had just come into the limelight, and it was kind of a way, some people think, to suck up to King James. He made it Scottish on purpose because King James was Scottish. So he's like, hey, King James, look at this macho Scotsman. He became king in a shady way. With Macbeth, you have a man who is promised by essentially spirits or witches that are mischievous by nature. He's promised that he can have the kingdom, and because he was granted the first of their predictions, he assumes that the rest of it is going to come true. And his wife easily coerces him, despite the railings of his conscience, to kill the king, because he was promised to be king. And so she's like, logically, this old man that's the king, logically we have to kill him. We don't have to wait until he dies or until things happen naturally. And honestly, you should seize the day. And what's shocking about Macbeth is, even though he is a war hero, and even though he genuinely has a sense of right and wrong, which you can tell because he's battling himself to the point of insanity, he is easily coerced to murder by the woman that he loves. And Lady Macbeth is naive, and that's made clear because at first she just seems evil. But I think where she goes wrong is she puts logic above what is rational and what is right. So of course her conscience gets the better of her, and she goes nutso. And so does Macbeth. Only Macbeth, instead of becoming self-destructive, he starts to spread the poison outward. So even though he has the power of a king, it becomes almost addictive and obsessive for him to take out anybody standing in his way. And so the two of them very clearly split. The last time that they meet up together alone is when they're murdering the king, and then they just stop communicating entirely, and that's very powerful. This is a little sporadic. I think I'm bouncing around back and forth because I'm stuck on the creative brain where I just want to talk about their emotions. So anyway, if you want to read a play about the tragedy of the mind and how ambition can turn your soul a bit sour when you put it above what is good and what is right, this is a play for you. Recently, Denzel Washington was in a version of Macbeth that's filmed. It's in black and white. It's available on Apple TV, and I highly recommend it. Denzel Washington is an amazing Shakespearean actor. I wish he has done more in his lifetime, at least in film. I know that theater is a great love of his, but he is phenomenal, and honestly his leading lady is spectacular as well. I'm always suspicious of Lady Macbeth, but every single time I'm proven wrong as far as them just being clones of one another. Everybody kind of brings their own scars and their own experiences to the table, and really makes her profound and dynamic. So I would definitely recommend that version. And then if you want something that's also accessible, Patrick Stewart is in a rendition with the Royal Shakespeare Company that's very good. And let's see. You can also see a version with Ian McKellen. You might be familiar with Ian McKellen as being Magneto or Gandalf. I think it's Magneto. I haven't watched X-Men in a while. But he's a familiar face for most people. He does a very good version when he was younger, and his leading lady is Judi Dench. And of course, she's always phenomenal. So I highly recommend those three versions, at least as far as the most accessible versions. I'm trying to think, have I seen any others? I have, I just can't place them right now. Join me in the future for even more Shakespeare videos, and of course more art videos and weird randomness. That's essentially what this channel is. It's just a cluster of creativity. I gotta keep it interesting for myself, you guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. And as always, I appreciate you. Thank you. I've been waiting for this moment, Luke.
You wanna mess with me, Darth Vader?